there, I'm Serena. As I promised in my last video, I would be showing you a full figure sketch and my process for creating that. So if you can see that there, it's the lovely Ashugal. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing her name correctly, at Raw Thyself. She's on Instagram, and if you want to go give her a follow, she's just a beautiful soul. So I created this really soft sketch of her. So as for the products that I used, you can use any paper, but I used this Canson drawing XL paper, 9x12. If you want to keep it for a long time, archival is a really good route to go. And most drawing pads are acid-free and archival. I used just a regular eraser, a regular pencil. I then went in and used a softer pencil, a 2B. You could use a 3 or a 4B even, just to do some soft shading. I use this dark, my favorite dark pencil. If you ever get shine from trying to get the dark values, this pencil will eliminate that and still get the really dark values that you're looking for in your drawings. So it's by Staedtler. It's Mars Lumograph Black, and it's 8B. I believe I mentioned my little eraser stick. I will be listing everything below. And this wonderful tool, this compass tool to do measurements, just to help me get references as to where I put different things on the paper. Okay, let's get started. So here's the photo of at Raw Thyself, Ashugal, that we're going to be using today for our drawing. If you want to go ahead and take a screenshot of that, that's great. Then you can use it on your device or also make a printout. All right, let's get started with the drawing now. To ensure that I get the full figure to fit onto the page and that I get the accurate measurements, I measure how many head lengths her full body is. So in other words, how many of the size of her head will fit into her body. So I look at the reference, I measure the head, how many of those fit, and then I do the same on my paper, and I mark those lines as future references. I next begin to draw the main angles of the face. I stick to the basic lines and shapes for now, knowing that I can soften them later, including the line for the eyebrows and for the eyes. For this picture, I choose the defined space between the eyebrows and the eyes, and then again I measure how many of those sections will fit into her entire face, and I use that as reference for where I should be drawing the lines for the chin, for the nose, for the cheekbones, the ear, etc. I really find that if I force myself to not think of the fact that I am sketching a face and rather pay attention to each angle and shape in relation to the others, it's much easier to get the proportions correct on my first try. Now I begin to refine the features. I'll draw in the neck, start to draw in where the lips are going. For the eye, there's a lot of shadows, so I kind of draw in the shadow area before I start putting in the shapes of the eyelids and the eyelashes. Remembering to keep the eyes on the same angle, so one eye is not, lopsided from the other. It's on an angle, but it's following that same line that I had before. Lips, and a lot of my lips aren't such a fine line. They're a soft, very soft line. I'm trying to use more shading to get the shapes instead of hard lines. I also keep checking my reference photos, whether it's on my computer or the paper. And I'm using very loose marks as I draw in her head wrap. When I look at my reference photo on my computer, I can zoom in closer and have a better look at the finer features like the eyes, the nose, the shape of the lips, and things like that. Again, I use my compass to do a little bit of measuring. I don't get too particular. It just helps as a general guide. Sometimes I'll use my pencil and compare relations of angles or distances from one part of the figure to another part. And as you can tell, I tend to work from the top of the drawing down to the bottom, which helps avoid smudges. So you can see I'm starting to block in shades of her neck and collarbones, the top of her dress, where her sleeves are. And again, I'm checking that I'm getting the measurements correctly of the heads, where they end up and which parts of the body land on those marks. For example, where the hands are resting, where her legs begin, and placing small guiding marks, just so I know that I'm getting her figure in correct relation. And, erasing when I have to, changing, readjusting. If you feel the need to pause this video, go ahead and pause, catch up to where I am, and we'll keep going. I keep going step by step. So go ahead and pause, catch up, and then we'll continue. So I'm starting the hands. And again, hands to me are a little bit trickier. But again, if you break them down into more angular shapes, I find it becomes easier. As you can see, I created a curved rectangle and then added long rectangles for the parts from the knuckles to the mid part of the finger. Her hand curves under, so I have to pay particular attention to the shapes I am seeing rather than what my brain wants me to believe the finger should look like. Shading the parts that are curved under also helps me to add volume to the hands. And I continue to sit back and really look at the drawing and adjust areas as needed. And I continue drawing in the shapes that I see in the skirt, her other hand, her fingers, the shapes that I'm seeing, her legs, adding in the folds of the skirt, and figuring in the feet as well. So I'm going back up to the top of the drawing and I'm going in and darkening up my values. So where there's places that need more darkness, I'm going in. I'm adding some shading in her cheekbones, adding in darkness of the eyelashes, fixing the lips, adjusting, and going in with that stick eraser just to get those curves correctly around her mouth. It really makes a difference where the curves land if she has a happy, peaceful expression or an angry expression. So I keep looking at my reference and I keep going in and adjusting. And there's my dark Staedtler Mars Lumograph pencil. Look at the black I'm getting. It really makes her eyes pop and really pushes and pulls the values of the drawing. I really love the dark and white, the light and shadow, that getting a darker value really makes the drawing come to life. And I'm using a Q-tip to soften. Again, the eraser, you'll see me going in with different tools there with my pencil, my dark pencil, and I keep building up layers of shadowing. When I step back and think it's not quite dark enough, I go back in with a bit more. It's something that requires patience, just to keep going over the same area and adjusting and readjusting until you see the piece getting to where you want it to get to, how you want it to look. For the fabric, draw in the darkest parts of the fold and then go in with a lighter pencil, draw the rest of the fold, and then blend those together, and you start to get a fabric feel from that. Her legs are in shadow and call for a little more shading. So I lightly use the edge of my pencil to apply the graphite on her skin. And I begin to work on her toes. I think feet are even trickier than hands. But again, I force myself to not think of them as toes and simply draw the lines, angles, and shapes that I see. It takes a little refinement and some erasing until I am satisfied that they actually look like feet and toes. And a little trick that I find is if I'm hitting a wall with a certain part of the body, I will just stop that part of the drawing and focus on another part. And go back to it when I feel that I'm ready to focus on that area again. Going in, adding little details to the feet, the lines between the toes, the suggestion of a toenail. And now I'm going in and I'm going to work on the skirt. And you can see that I will angle my pencil in the actual direction that the skirt is flowing. So when it's going down over her knee, I angle the pencil and start pulling the graphite that direction. If the skirt's going in a different direction, like it's on the top of her knee, I will angle my pencil in that direction. And it really helps with creating the illusion of a flow of the fabric and that's the actual direction the fabric is flowing in. And I go in and darken shadowed areas, sometimes just by reapplying with the same pencil on the spot. I use my fingers sometimes. And then other times if I need more darkness, I will take a darker pencil. This helps some areas to recede and helps other areas appear to come forward, creating volume, definition, and a sense of space in the photo. In the drawing, the back of her skirt looks to be further back than the front where her knees are, simply by using different pencil shading techniques. When I finish a piece, I find that when I return to it after a few days, I often see areas that need further adjustments. For this one, I went in and softened some areas of her skin where I could still see the pencil lines too distinctly. Once it's to the point where I'm happy with it, I will spray it with a pencil fixative like Krylon Fine Art Fixative, which helps prevent the pencil from smudging or fading. So thank you so much for following along with this human figure drawing tutorial. If you like this drawing tutorial, don't forget to give me a thumbs up and subscribe so you're notified when I post my next video. Also, let me know in the comments below if there's a topic you'd like me to discuss. Have a great day and see you in my next video.